All right, we'll go ahead and get this recording going. Welcome, class, to another exciting week of application spreadsheets. I hope everybody had a good first week. Hope everybody understood material, IntelliPath, etc. It had very active participation in the discussion board for introductions. Probably one of the most active ones I've yet seen in a while. There we go. Anybody on here had a question based on what they did, what they saw from last week in the presentation, and or working on anything in general? Okay. Well, I think last week went pretty well. That was our normal agenda that we'll go through each week. I did have a question about different time slots in this chat. I've had a couple people actually ask me. Basically, I have a full-time job where I work between 10 and 12 hours a day at the office. So this time slot's really the only one that effectively works for me. The only other one it could be on a weekday would be like a Monday or Tuesday as well, would be like super late at night for even the East Coast. So I don't think that works all that well either. But everybody has real life problems, right? So, but I wanted to point out that it is okay for people to go ahead and start working. Just work as fast as you want to, as I've been IntelliPath where you're comfortable with. I mean, you can always go back and fix them. If you do go forward, the grading process in IntelliPath generally picks up every Sunday, every Monday. So I submitted the assignments, just grades from the first session, first unit. I submitted those this morning. So you'll see those show up in your grade path. If don't take that as your final grade, you can improve it if you want to. I will go back occasionally and pick up past weeks or current units or past units and update those grades. But my point is, if you want to move forward, the grades won't necessarily show up for the future ones until they're due. But at the same time, that gives you plenty of effort to move forward. So other than that, a lot of good participation so far that I've seen on IntelliPath. A little bit higher than I traditionally have seen on the first week. So that's a good sign. Like I said, this class, as long as you put in the effort within IntelliPath, it's easy to get an A in this class. You just have to do that. I mean, that's worth like 80% or 70 some odd percent of your grade, and the other 30% of your grade comes from discussion boards. So doing the work in IntelliPath and the discussion boards are not hard. So it's easy to get decent grades in this class. This week, the Unit 2's primary topics we're going to talk about will be data manipulation. So how to create tables, how to use the text functions, what's using subtotals, temporary columns and rows, data tools, data manipulation, things like the cat function, the mid function, the right, the left functions, some pull down menus for data validation, those kinds of types of ideas, right? So oh, I made a color coding error here. Hang on. That first set should be yellow, not blue. I wonder if I've had that wrong for a long time. All right, you should be able to see the assignment list. So, like I said, I submitted the grades last night for this morning for IntelliPath because they became due yesterday. The due times are always generally treated at midnight Central. So, but I will typically submit the grades like right before we start our live chats. So right around the time you'll see updates to your grades. All that being said, yeah, keep doing well. This is week 2. We're gonna be talking about various topics within week 2. like I said, progress looks pretty good. The first unit I had 100 hours so far recorded from activity perspective, which is a fairly good trend. A little bit been done so far with unit 2, and one person has already gone on to start unit 3 work. So anybody can work as far ahead as they wish. Muse sites. I posted into the announcements page as well a number of the Muse sites. This is a subset of them, the ones that are most relevant to this week's material. I would suggest you not only spend the time in the telepath, but also spend time going through the Muse as well as a secondary textbook kind of thing to help give you a brief introduction to those topics, as well as some video links and whatnot that CTU recorded some years ago. Had created for. It's pretty good. These are some more related ones for both this week's material and for next week's material, and a YouTube video that is worthy of watching for help you with pivot tables, I believe. The discussion board assignment is going to be primarily focused on what's in chapter 3, 4, and your Excel's workbook for chapters 9 and 19. So basically, formatting cells within spreadsheet to how to make them readable and better for user experience. Basically focusing on things like numeric data and text, right? So there's a video here link for tables that will tell you how to. We're gonna show that one here, but it will be. It's what tells you how to create a data set so that or a 2-column data set, or two variable data set, so that you can use it to extract data from it for doing lookup functions, or for calculating information from it. So, but this week's discussion, I want you to go there. I want you to talk about why the data is important, how you would give it to explain to somebody, how you would set it up to do that, and ultimately, what do you think is important to know about a general data set and whatnot. So the full description of the discussion board is there for you to read on the actual pages. Is kind of a summary of sorts. But yeah, so you get a feel for how to do the sorting and whatnot with that. This week's learning map from IntelliPath is defining and creating tables using the text functions, columns, rows, totals, applying conditional formatting, data tools, and manipulation, right? So let's go back and we'll pull up the video.
The wood and the
Okay, share. I gotta change my share settings.
All right, so in this video, we're going to be looking at a 2-variable data table. So really, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. You need 2 variables. Here, I'm going to use the number of apples, and we're going to put in an arbitrary number. It doesn't matter what you put in here. I just want to show you, to begin with, the formula that we're going to be using. And the price per apple, we're going to put in.
I'm only going to show you part of this video, by the way, not all of it.
$10 as well. And now, to be able to do a data table, you're going to need to be solving something. So you need a formula. So we're going to use a very simple formula here. Number of apples times the price of apples, which gives us total fruit sales in dollars. Now to set up our data table, in this top left corner here, we're going to need to link to this formula. You always have to be linking to a formula. Now we're going to need to enter some row data. Basically, these are the variables that we want to see. So, for instance, I'm going to use 5. My number of apples is going to be 5, and we're simply going to increase it by 5 for each one. So here we have 5 apples, 10 apples, 15 apples, 20, 25. we want, we can label it number of apples. And here we need the column, which is going to be the price per apple. So let's do $2, and we'll increase it by $2 for each one. Now, these can of course be anything, but what we can see is that this data table is going to output, based on this formula, this. So it's going to simply multiply the column by the row. So here we should have 40, here we should have 10, here we will have 20. Now to pull up the data table, and I'm going to show you this using all hotkeys. I recommend using the keyboard. I almost never use a mouse, and that's the Excel Pro way. Once you get it down, you'll be much, much faster, and you'll impress your friends and your boss as well. So in order to access the data table, you're going to use Alt-A for the data tab. You can obviously click this with your mouse as well, but I prefer the shortcut keys. And then W for the what if analysis. You can either use the number key, or sorry, the arrow keys to move down, or you can just press the T. We're going to press data table. It's going to bring up this dialog box, and basically we just need to input two variables, which of course we have a two variable data table. So we're going to select our row input cell, and the row is obviously just whatever's up here. This is on the row, and this is the column. So the row is going to be the number of apples, and we press the tab key to drop into the cell input cell, and this is going to be the price. So these are the two variables that are going to be changed, and when we press OK, it's going to fill in the blanks. And I think we'll just make this a dollar symbols, and let's see, I'm using the hotkeys Alt-H9 to get rid of decimal places. So this is solving. As we said, this should be 10, this is 40, this is 20. And the interesting thing is this actually doesn't matter. You don't need anything in these boxes. It's not using those. I was just showing that to demonstrate that the formula works. But this is actually where the variables are now being programmed. So that's a two variable data table.
Okay. So let's turn that off. All right, so I assume you can go back to seeing the spreadsheet. All right, I'll get into some live functions here with Excel in a minute. But yeah, so it's easy to import from one to another. Actually do it quite a bit myself. All right, types of inputs allowed to the spreadsheets are, the question is values. Telepath mentions functions. It's really a combination of values and functions that you get entered into it, but the correct item you need to answer in Telepath is values. I haven't checked to see if they fixed that question just yet, but yeah. So, but just so you know, so you can go in there and correct that answer when you see it show up. All right. Sometimes the information from videos are there as additional information to help with different discussion boards, different topics, maybe some of the learning material each week. I don't show a video every week, by the way. I only show them occasionally, but I felt that one was kind of necessary for you to help understand the context of how the discussion board will work. Can you have different headers on each page? Yes, there's actually a header footer portion to a spreadsheet zone that isn't necessarily shown by default. So, all right, let's, before I get too far ahead. All right, okay, so an example how to import a Excel spreadsheet into one of many, right? I assume you can see Excel. If anyone can confirm, that'd be great. Okay, I guess I have a thumbs up. All right.
Yes,
Okay.
we can see.
Okay, so there's two ways to do it, right? You can either do like a file. Well, there's three ways to do it. You can either do a file import, or you can quite literally have two spreadsheets open, and you can say, drag this one and drop it over here if you want to. And it quite literally moves that particular worksheet over from one workbook to another workbook. It does not do the undo, by the way. Kind of annoying. That's one way to import it. You can also take a CSV file, open it up, do the same thing. You can actually also copy or move. If you right click on a tab, you can say copy or move. You can move to other workbooks. You can create a new workbook if you wanted to. You can make either a copy or move. It doesn't move by default. So if I say create a copy and whatever I'm on here, I say new workbook, I hit OK. A third sheet comes up that is now a replica of that. So yeah, you can move things around pretty easily between workbooks. As far as, all right, where was I? I was oh yeah, pull down functions. So if you notice, this here is actually a data table. So this has a couple of different functions. So if I pull this thing down, I can get extra rows. But what it is over here, I can, this is actually something I've done for my own side thing. I've been doing some eBay stuff for the last couple of weeks. Over here, I have a rarity set because I do collectible card games, so I have rarity. I have a pull down list that I can choose from, right? So if I put in just random pieces in here, this will come back saying that this does not meet data validation necessaries because it's not a valid answer for the cell. Valid answer is only done by pull downs. So how to accomplish that is under data, you do data validation, and you highlight a number of cells that you want to do this with, say data validation here, and I chose a list as a type. If you wanted to have numbers, you can put in whole numbers, you can put decimals, list, dates, times, those are all things, or you can even build your own formula if you want to do regular expressions. I don't think anybody else in this class would ever touch regular expressions unless you're a programmer. But anyway, so I have a list. This list then now refers to a specific table that I had defined by name, in this case rarity type, and the rows by which valid inputs come from. So in which case I put this whole range here, comes up A2 through A40 as my pull down set. So if I were to like make it smaller or had the incorrect number, right, when I do that, then you only see the list that you have here. So as opposed to now I'll undo it and go back to, now I have the full list. So that's an example of how to do pull down menus for data validation, right? So like I said, so I have a couple of different things here for this purpose. I already showed you how to color based on pricing. Now, in the case of what I mentioned about headers and footers, and this is actually important in the military world or government world, there's this button down here that says page layout. What we're normally looking at is always in the normal set. Normal set looks, this is what it always looks like. In page layout, it changes this layout so that it is quite literally based on page breakdown. So you can actually say, this is page where my cell is, my cursor is as in page 1 of 18 now. This is page 7 of 18. So that means my spreadsheet is long enough where it goes down a couple of these, right? And the grayed out sections are not active pages, but the active pages go down this far. So in this case, this is now 6 of 18. But my point is that over here, I could say, I can give it a date, or I can give it a classification of a header, right? Or I could say report for business or something, right? And you can literally, it then spreads it across this page layout here. And when you're in normal mode, you don't see that kind of thing. So, of course, I do this with a spreadsheet with a lot of data. That's weird. Hmm. Weird, my computer's got freaky all of a sudden. Close Excel. All right, fine. Be this way. Okay. So like I said, you can put your header and footer. Same thing down here. You can say footer. So that every page then that you use automatically picks up that pieces of information. You can also do something like $sign. I think it's logo. But you can do $sign and different things like page numbers. You can do balanced pages. You can go if you want to do page number. So you could you could do other things like wrong type of where it'll come up with the current date. So every time you open it, it'll have this date updated, so you can print there with the current dates. So you can do kind of interesting things within the header footer piece. So yeah, not sure if I had it on the right screen. $, $date, header footer, that kind of stuff. So all right, should be back to what you're seeing. I think is the PowerPoint package. Subtotals. All right. So in the event that you need some help with subtotals, there's a couple of videos that can help you with that really briefly. But basically, subtotals feature is a way to organize data inside of a spreadsheet with numbers so that you don't have to always use just the sum to get the total number list. You have an ability to set it up so that you can sort that list or filter the list without affecting the numbers in the subtotal. So that's what they call categorical columns in case you have duplicate numbers. But how you have to set up the files so that you can do that so that it maintains the subtotal even with filtering. But once you have that done, it's for advanced. Say you have multiple inventories, multiple invoices from the same customer, that kind of thing. You can have each invoice be in its own subtotal, and then you could figure out how much that you need to bill somebody for it, right? Mid functions. Mid function is a way to take characters from some position inside of a string and set it up so you can see X characters from the middle of the text string. So let's see if I can get Excel to behave again. All right. For example, if I did this cell, right? If I wanted to take this, I can go equal mid that cell. And if I said, we'll say 3 and 4, just because I can. Basically, in this case, I'm saying starting from position 3, give me the next 4 characters from the middle of this text field. So if you knew you had structured data, but was that you didn't have split apart, but you knew it always comes in this way. So say a copy and paste either from a website like a vendor providing your costs of different products or something, and it's always a copy paste of the same format. You can do this to do manipulation from it, so you can extract the pieces of information you want, right? So this is an example of how you can extract the important piece of information so that you always paste across a bunch of cells, and you can go down with this formula to grab. All right, so that way, so if I grab if I copy from CTU's portal, for instance, right? I always get this sorted sending and whatnot as all tagged to the actual name of what I'm trying to copy from. But in that case, I can quickly cut, replace and remove any of that extraneous data because it's consistent. However, if I wanted to, I could also do the mid function in order to gain those to get specific cells, specific information out of those types of cells, right? So that's how that's handled. All right, I showed you the thing. There's also a list of here all the VBA codes you can go in there. Oh, it's picture. There's examples. Pound picture. Pound picture would let you put in a instead of like here being pages and here being date, I could also say, or not pound, but ampersand pictures. It's got to always be caps. That way I can again go from and adding a logo or a picture along those lines. Just not that I had this set up well, but if I wanted to, I could go. Oh, no. Okay, so I added a large picture, so it looks kind of weird. But if you do a thing, you can do like the CTU logo. You could do small logos went out, so you can do your business logo this way, do your header and footer, so you can make reports that actually come out kind of nice. That's what that's generally about. I didn't have that set up for it. Go find a good one. I showed you the drag and drop from worksheet to worksheet. You can do the same thing with CSVs. You can export a bunch of CSVs. There's actually a script out there that I use in the office occasionally that takes every tab and turns every tab into a CSV as an automatic file save. People have written lots of scripts like that in VBA for Excel over the years to make more functional. So don't be afraid to go look around and see what you can find in Google. But at that point, you can drag and drop them. You can copy them. You can do all kinds of things, right? Another main aspect of, and this is probably why the one file kind of freaked out, is assuming you can see Excel again. I have a bunch of sum ifs in this big formula, right? So what that's telling me is based on this sum if, which is the combination of all of these numbers added, as long as it meets the criteria of this name of something in a range that happens to be, 100,000 lines long, basically. So if I see this here, it gives me, I have a quantity of 1 in border mythics, mythic border list. So I could actually do a filter over here and I could just see the 1 here, right? Or if I did another one, like say, mythic showcase, for instance, I'll see all 5 of them down here or 4 of them down here. And the quantity comes up 5. So that's what this sum if does on a range base. Now, the reason I'm getting to that is one of the other things is for VLOOKUP, you can take that same information, looking up by the same name, and you can have another table over here called price that is alphabetically sorted. And you can have your vendor information, for instance, provided that name, maybe some data about it that you need to. And I look up, in this context, I use the VLOOKUP to look through that whole table, pull out the price information from column 4. Well, I call the table price, but I pull out the information from column 4 as an exact match so that I have it such that I can then summarize roughly a good cost on what certain things would be. So there's an example of how you can do that in business, right? So using the VLOOKUP, you can get your quantities, you can get your type, your rare, all the different statistics you want about the various pieces. You can go look up this so you know what price you need to sell or price you're looking to buy from based on whatever the data context you're using is. But yeah, so assuming you can see Excel, this is a good usage on how business would actually make use of spreadsheets in order to do day-to-day operations, right? So, all right. Like I said, I've been doing a bunch of stuff on eBay lately, so I thought that'd be a good example to show you. Okay. Another example of a manipulation thing is there's something called the upper and the lower. In the upper, I could quite literally take, I'll use this one. I could take this string, everything in this particular cell, and it will come out to be all uppercase in this case. So if you want to have a quick way to change it from uppercase to lowercase, you can use the upper or the lower functions to do that, right? So, and let's take this because that's all uppercase, right? So that's what the upper and lower does. It will actually convert one cell to another, so you can have it correctly go from either camel case or a mixed case to matching what you want it to be for your output, right? So that's what the upper and lower does. If you needed to do other things like I showed you mid. There's another example of left, mid, concatenate, right, len, find. They're all similar type of functions in that context. Concatenate, give you an example of what that one does. Concatenate. Oh, come on. Apparently it doesn't want to play nice. All right, fine. Where I could say this, this, or I could take a whole bunch of just random cells and I could turn it into the output being just a mix of things, right? So that's how concatenate works. So you can take a bunch of text strings and merge them together that way. It's also done via another process, which is just cell ampersand ampersand or cell. Same idea. That's also another way to represent concatenate. The left is an example where if I took this thing, I could say from this, I want the leftmost, say 3 characters from that cell. So if you have formatted data, you could pick up the first couple characters in there. Same kind of context with right. You can say this, give me the last 3 characters of a cell. So in this case, I'm stripping off the numbers from that particular class name. Yeah, so that's ways to demonstrate how to manipulate text inside of Excel. So you can do that for purposes of splitting up data. You can, if you get like structured data, such as first and last names, email addresses, course codes, and whatnot, the things we can split them up such that you can extract the data you need to, right? Another thing you could do is in the event of I have a bunch of text here, well, maybe I don't want the thing split up based on spaces, right? So I could actually go to data text to column, which is this one. This is the one of the ones that actually is talked about inside of IntelliPath. You could say delimited or fixed width. I'm going to select delimited, and I'm going to say based on space or tab. And you see how it shows the preview down here, it changes. This here then shows you what this data will look like when you're done with it. So when I hit finish, it actually spread it across the spreadsheet. So I now have something that can more easily manipulate in the purposes of how I want to get something done, right? Okay. Let's see what we're doing at time. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of going a lot faster than I want this class to go. All right, so I was giving you some examples of how to do that. I told you to pull down menu. I may come back to that video here in a little bit. So yeah, side of a. So in this context, right, one of the questions from IntelliPath is based on project managers creating a spreadsheet to track the number of employees, hours employees, total number of hours and phases of work. That kind of information is best displayed by whole numbers. So that way you have your employee validation. So your validation is always going to be a whole number. The number of employees working on a particular project. You can't have a fractional employee necessarily, though you can have fractional hours. So yeah, so this is what you manipulate it. So this was asking how to validate these things. That's why you set up this data validation, and your correct answer in this context will be whole numbers because it makes the most sense from a perspective of what you're actually looking at. So any questions so far on anything I've done in this class today? I've thrown a ton of data at you plus some examples, so hope it all makes sense. Hope you all review it if need be. The right, left, mid functions, they're right and left, all based on whether cell you start the string and then the number of characters you want to show from that direction. Mid is what cell you start from and then the number of characters after that. Well, your cell, where in the cell, and then the number of characters you want from that starting point. Concatenate shows up as a way to merge multiple cells. And I showed you how to extract some data from there. In this question here, if you're given A, B, C, E, D, E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you said 1, A, or cell A1 and then 2, your correct answer would be 4, 5 because you're getting the last two characters of that particular text string, right? Hope that made sense. I showed you how to do that. Yeah, that's all the stuff I had prepped for this class today. Any specific questions you guys have? Any concerns? Any homework related things you want to ask about the weather? Open door, open channel. Are you all even listening to me?
I'm listening.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I'm going to go back and put that video on just for sake of try to in theirs. But other than playing this video, I have nothing further to show or brief about. I need to start making some longer slide decks because I built my original classes up for on the computer science college when we taught this course. This course was only I was only expected to do a 30-minute live chat, so all my slides were set up for 30 minutes, pretty much. In the College of General Education, which is now teaching this class as of this session, it's an hour-long session for videos or for live chats. So I guess I'll need to add more data, more discussion points in this, but going forward. But beyond that, yeah, I'm just gonna run the video and then we'll call it good for class. So if you think you got everything you need, just remember you can download these slides from learning materials, or you can download this video from your live chat. And now I was thinking about it this morning. Previously, I put up my past IT254 classes up on YouTube. So I will throw up a link there as well. So if you want to just download and even have even more of me on video, I will make that available to everybody so they can participate in and download and watch those or listen to them. They're actually kind of nice because you can in what Zoom does on CTU's website, It lets you download both as an MP4 and as an MP3. So if you wanted to, you can actually play it in your car as you're driving. The text, the audio from this thing, so it's not necessary that you. Look, you learn a lot of things by listening to the audio, as well as watching the video, but you have the either option. So, yeah.
So I turned 40 recently.
Oh, that was a video I watched earlier. Never mind. That's the one we watched earlier. Yeah, I'm just going to turn off sharing entirely then. So, anyways, all right. Well, if you have nothing, I will be around for a little bit. Other than that, I guess this will be the end of the class for today. So I hope everyone continues to make good progress, and y'all are doing well. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me or IM me. I have gotten a couple of text messages this week, so I've responded to. But other than that, I hope everything goes well for everybody. Have a good week.